this is Bill Chen from 5 Elements of Fulfilling Life, and today I want to talk to you about the goal element, professional skills. Now, one of the most useful professional skills, regardless of what job you're doing, what career you're in, is the ability to sell yourself, right? And one of the key mindsets in selling is to be able to take rejections. So what we're going to relate to you today is about how to break through rejections that leads to sales success. In selling anything in life, whether you're selling yourself to your loved one, or you're trying to convince your boss your ideas, or your team to accept your concepts, or you're selling product or service, right? You still have to have a mindset that is resilient and that leads you to success. Rejection is part of life, right? And whatever you do in life, you can't expect everyone to accept what you're trying to convince them, to influence them with, right? Not everyone thinks the same way you do, right? So selling is really a numbers game, right? When you first start out, you might have 10 calls before you get a yes. That means you need to accept 10 no's or 9 no's to get to that final yes. Now, for most people, we are, by default, we don't like rejections, right? That's part of nature, because rejection means survival in our ancestors. We're kicked out of a tribe or a social group, then we are left alone to our predators, right? Now, however, today, we still carry that mindset with us in what we do in life. But in selling, you need to go to that. Not everyone will buy your products or your ideas. So you need to get to so many no's before you get to the yes. Now, when I first started out, I hated rejections. When customers tell me no, I would just get so depressed for a half a day before I can mobilize myself again to call another client. Now, eventually it gets better, right? As you get more used to getting the no's and you work out your ratio. I finally figure out when I first start selling that it takes me 9 no's to get to the yes. So it gotten to be a point where it becomes exciting to receive the no's. Give me a no, give me another no, give me another no. That means I'm working closer and closer to my yes. Okay? If I get to the 9th no, that means, hey, the next one's going to be a yes. It doesn't come exactly in that number, but the ratio works out eventually. Now, as I get better in my skills, I get to a point where I can get 4 no's and get a yes. So every 5 calls, I get a yes. Every 5 calls, I get a yes. And that becomes very exciting, right? You have to work out your own ratio. Everyone's different, right? And depending on what you sell, too. Some products has higher rejection rates than others. But it gets exciting once you work out your ratio. Now, the other statistics is that for the same client, it takes 4 no's, 4 objections before they actually say yes to you. So they need to reject you 4 times, 4 no's, before they can finally say yes to you. Now, sometimes the clients may just want to test you out, or they do it deliberately. Yet other times they're really contemplating whether this is the right choice for them. So some of the common objections that clients give you at closing stage, it might be like, I want to think about it. So what do? Most salespeople, when clients want to say they want to think about it, they'll say, okay, well, see you in a week. Okay, we'll give you some time to think about it. When can I call you back? Remember, this client, by the time of closing, they are emotionally ready to buy, right? They're at the highest point. If you do your job right, they're at the highest point of accepting what you have to sell them. If you let them go and they cool down in a week from now, they might forget what you say. They might be comparison shopping here and there, and they found out that, hey, maybe there's a better deal elsewhere, right? So you don't want them to have that buyer remorse, right? Or that time to really comparison shopping, because they might not be comparing apples to apples. They might be comparing apple to pear, and then it looks like a better deal somewhere else, but really it's not, right? So you want to push them a little bit, okay? Now, you don't want to push them too hard. You might want to say to them, hey, just to clarify my thinking, what is it that you like to think about? Okay? And they might say something like, well, I don't know. I wanted to maybe analyze my finances to see if this is really affordable for me. And you might want to push a little bit more, too much, not too much. You might want to ask them, hey, I know that as we go to our discussions that you mentioned that this is really a good value for you. Are you considering if this is really worth what you're paying for it? You want to turn affordability into values, because if they say they can't afford it, there's nothing you can do about it, right? If they agree that this is a value issue, then you can prove that really you have higher values than what they're paying for, your value for money, right? So you want to turn that table around. You want to ask them, hey, are you debating whether this is a value added for you, or is this worth what you're paying for? And they go, yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. So you go to what you discussed earlier with them. As we discussed earlier, you mentioned that, hey, your problem now is costing you X amount of dollars every day. By resolving that problem over 6 months, you're able to recruit all of the investment you put in, and in a year time, you double your investment, right? Now, is this worth it, right? Is this good value for you? Now, maybe they said, okay, I don't know. Right now, I'm pretty tight on money. Well, is there any other finance options for you? Right? You might have a payment structure for them. They can break it down into 3 payments, or monthly payment, whatever it is, right? And then they might say, well, I don't know. I need to talk to my wife, or I need to talk to my my boss about it. I'm not really the final decision maker. Now, this is a key point. If they're not the final decision maker, you want to get to the final decision maker. Okay? Don't let them talk to the decision maker on their own, because they don't know your product or services well enough to explain it to their boss or their spouse. So you want to ask them to go with you on a meeting with that decision maker, bring you along, right? So you might want to say something like, is it possible that we could schedule a time with so-and-so, and I would be happy to accompany you and explain to them the value that we can offer to your company, or to your situation, to your family, right? And stop. Let them say, Let them decide, right? Yeah, okay, well, and I want to make sure to tell your boss that these ideas, these great concepts actually came from you. You came along and give us some really good insights into your situation, and that's how come we are able to work out such a great solution for your situation. And give them the credit. You don't need the credit. Give them the credit. Let them shine in front of the boss, okay? And you want the business, right? And then they go, okay, well, all right. Now, is there anything else that you're still contemplating about? And they might say, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, it all sounds pretty good. Now you wanted to start closing. Have we agreed that this is a good solution for you in light of your situation? That this will be able to fix up the problem that you're confronted with? Yes. Okay. Is this solution beneficial not only to you but your boss and to your department? Yeah. And have we also agreed that the solution is a great value for money, right? You're able to recruit your investment in a very short time and be able to double your investment in a year, like we talked about earlier. Yeah? Okay. Now, if they say yes, 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 and you have seen and be convinced by our proof of concept that this really works for you, right? Okay. When is a good time that we can start the presentation to your boss? When is a good time for us to start testing our equipment in your company? When is a good time for us to start implementing the solution? Okay, and they say whatever time, then okay. Basically, we're ready to go, right? Okay, all I need to do is for you to sign a few documents and we could start the process right away. Okay, thank you. Now remember, they need to go through that process. They need to convince themselves that they're making the right decision. Yeah? So they need to work through the process, work through the journey until they're totally convinced. And you help them along that process. And when they are convinced, go for the close. Okay? If they still want to think about it and still after 5 closes they say, after 5 objections they gave you, they're still not totally convinced, you probably haven't done your work in the earlier stage of selling. So you might need to go back to questioning or presenting, right? Or this is the wrong person, period. You might have to find the person that is the most that has the most power in this situation, or that's most affected by this situation. So maybe you need to step back, okay, take a different route. But regardless, okay, this is the time you back up, right? You don't want to be a pesky salesman. You wanted to back up a little bit and say, okay, well, okay, fine. Could I follow up with you in a week? Could you refer me to the right person, maybe to the person that might be interested in talking about this situation with me? Who else is involved in this situation besides you that I can talk to, right? We want to be respectful. We want to give them as much credit as possible, but at the same time, we want to call on the right decision maker, right? We want to call on the the person with the power to make that decision. Okay? Now, this is